Hey everybody, it's Tuesday, it's Samp&Chance. That means it's wrestling. On this episode, we are going to go back to London, take a look at AEW's All In. After that, we're going to move over to Berlin to preview WWE's Bash in Berlin. Also, guys, we're going to add a new segment to the show today, but you got to listen to find out. So all this and so much more on this episode of Samp&Chance. So strap in and thank you for letting us into your ears. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Samp&Chance. I am your host, Bobby Sampson, joined as always, my man with the master plan, Mr. Chance Michaels. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good. How about yourself?
I am on cloud nine in a lot of ways, man. When I said the master plan, that reminds me of Oasis.
Yep.
Oasis is one of my favorite bands. It just came out today that Oasis is reuniting and they're going to be going on a tour. Right now, there's about a bunch of shows in Northern Ireland and then only in England, in the United Kingdom. But hopefully they come over here. They're going to be doing a bunch of shows in Wembley. So looking forward to it. I hope they come to North America. But if worse comes to worse, I may just have to go over there and see these guys live. I'm
Yeah, I
excited.
love Oasis too. I've seen them live in '09. Their music is great. Solo albums are great. Like I love everything they do. Live, a little bit short, a little bit lack energy, but they're a brilliant band. So I'm not gonna get too deep into it. But not my favorite live band, but absolutely all their albums are good, and I love their solo stuff too. So I'm glad they're back. They come back for one reason only. It's for the money. Anybody who thinks otherwise is stupid. They've even said that. So good for them.
No, no,
Make as much as you can.
you can't mess with those two guys, man. They say it like it is, and of course they know what they're doing. But
Mm.
to your point, I agree with you to a certain extent because I also like energy and I want to see the movement and everything like that. Like when we saw the Stones, Mick
Oh,
Jagger, what did he do that day? How many kilometers or how many miles did he?
I can't remember how much it was. It was a
Right,
long time.
it's huge. But here's the difference with Oasis: that energy, just the way the music is, and it
Mm.
comes at you. It almost
Yeah.
makes up for the lack of movement, if that makes sense.
I hear you. No, they're great. I love them.
Right?
I
I
love
mean,
those guys.
just something
Yeah.
about it. Like when I saw them last, Noel was sick, right? So he didn't have to perform. They could have called the show, whatever, but he did the best he could. He even sat down and played, right? So I mean, the band, as controversial as they are, as people say, oh, they're this or that, they will do right by their fans. I'll say
Yeah,
that,
they got great songs and they
right?
know how to play them well.
So I just wanted to get that out of the air because that was what I woke up to this morning, the headline that I saw right off the bat. So, that got me going. I'm like, yes, very happy.
Yeah.
Hopefully they come to North America, but right now I think it's just Europe that they've kind of locked in. But let's see what they do. Let's see
Yeah.
what they do. All right, brother man, why don't we stay in London and talk a little bit about what we saw this weekend at AEW All In at Wembley. Your initial reactions to the show, man.
Way too long. I say that about every AW. It's way too long. Was it over 4 hours again? I
Well,
don't
you
know
know
the
what?
exact
This was
number.
shorter than the other ones.
Yeah, I know. I think it was maybe almost four, over 3.5. It was long. It was good. There's some like obviously Daniel Bryan winning the belt. He deserves it. I don't. I said it before. I don't think Swerve was a great champion, anyways. And Bryan's never had a belt in AEW, which most people would think he has. So, and he's getting older. He says he's gonna retire soon. So it was a good match. I mean, he bled. He went all out. Swerve held his own, and I think the MJF Osprey match is the best match. I don't know if it's as good as the one on Dynamite, but it's pretty close. Both
Yeah,
stood
yeah,
out for sure.
yeah, and
And the Casino Gauntlet match I thought was well done too.
yeah, it was. Initially when I thought about, okay, is this their version of the Royal Rumble? You know what I mean?
Mm.
Just the way it looked and the way it was, but it wasn't over the top rope. Obviously, I mean, that match could have ended at the very beginning with the first two guys, in essence, really, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's just the style of it, but I liked it. I liked it a lot. Back to Daniel Bryan, though, here's what I saw. Okay. It reminded me a lot, and this is after the fact that after watching it, just kind of, playing with it in my own
Mm-hmm.
mind. What I saw was a match very similar to that when he fought Brock Lesnar. Now, not saying that Swerve is a Brock Lesnar or
Yeah,
anything,
I get what you're
but
saying.
but that story was there. Now, the outcome was different. Daniel won this one, but it felt like it was just assault after assault. And every time Daniel tried, like for example, when he finally kicked him and he gave him the Kinsasa, the knee to the face, right?
Mm.
And Swerve just brushed it off, sort of a deal. And I'm just kind of like, oh, okay, it's this kind of match. Like no matter what Daniel did, Swerve was there, and they played off each other very well. I'll say this: they had
Yeah.
great chemistry. I'm sure a lot of it had to do with Daniel's ability and his experience in carrying this kind of match, right? Like, I mean, Swerve's been around, but I don't think he's ever fought in a stadium this big in front of this many
No, he
people.
hasn't.
So, he handled himself really well. Is Daniel Bryan the right guy? Yeah, he won, finally
I
he
think
gets the
so. Just
title.
just because he's going to retire soon. This is
Yeah,
Tony Khan booked this right. We'll give you the belt for a couple months.
yeah,
Have your little swan song, and then you can go. Because
yeah.
he needs to get out of wrestling soon because he's going to have permanent damage to his
No,
neck, which could affect his
100%.
back. Like
Yeah,
he still works
and
his butt off, though. He still goes hard. He doesn't phone
no,
it in.
he does not phone it in at all, and he gave it everything he had, and you could
Mm-hmm.
tell, right? It's just the way the match was, and the storytelling was great. The fact that he
It
had
was good.
family at ringside, and looking at them, like just engaging them, and just having that piece of their saying, I'm sorry," like all these things. It just all kind of it was just a really solid match, man. I was really happy with it.
Yeah, it was well done.
What I found interesting after the fact that you find out that he never wanted the title. They had to like, and again, we'll talk about this later as well because this kind of ties in to what we're going to do here in a little bit. But it's an
Mm-hmm.
interesting fact here that Tony had to really convince him to win the title. And this is kind of like,
And
okay,
I like that Tony's doing that. I like that I'm the boss. You're going to win it. This is how it's
yeah,
going to be. Taking a little more charge.
yeah,
Good,
yeah.
good job by Tony on that.
No, it's amazing, right? I mean, it was a good card. And the card did move faster than the other ones, and it did
The,
have a better flow. I don't know if
the
it
one
was
thing I thought I was disappointed with, I thought the Young Bucks, they were just doing, I don't want to say they're phoning it in, but they just kind of went through, like they're going through the motions. I don't know if they were hurt or there's something about the Young Bucks just didn't seem like the regular Young Bucks. I'm not sure what was up with those guys.
I think a
That
lot
all
of it
in.
has, yeah, you know what? Again, with the Young Bucks, their whole way of thinking right now is because, how can I say this without being disrespectful to anyone? But they think they're bigger than life.
Yeah, I
Okay.
know what
One piece about them is they feel that you don't see them much on television per se in the last little while because they have it in their mind. Like we've talked about Brock Lesnar's or certain athletes that kind of come periodically, which make it more exciting, right?
mm-hmm.
That's the attitude that they have. That's why they haven't been around. The fact that they didn't drop the straps, because I think in WWE you can get away with that kind of stuff because they have such a deep reach and you
Yeah,
don't need to have guys there. But in a company that's growing, you got to have your top guys there. Your titles have to be present
you
until you
think
can
so?
reach that level. So not being around and then coming up and just kind of having this kind of performance, yeah, it was the weak side. The other weak match that I thought was weak was the Britt Baker, Monet match, Sasha Banks match.
Mm-hmm.
There's something missing,
Very
and
lackluster.
very lackluster. And who I felt sorry for here was Britt Baker, in my opinion. Because if you look at the time that she was, before her injuries and everything, she was that workhorse woman. She was, the woman that really established and really gave some name to that women's division with her getting the color and what have you. It's just like, you don't, and I just feel like she's kind of being, not thrown away, but she's not being given that, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I know what
I
you mean.
just feel like it's just, oh, Sasha's here now, so we have to do everything by her, sort of a deal. But really, the person who built that for Sasha to be there is not getting that respect, and that's what I felt in that match. It was just a match, like it
Mm-hmm.
didn't have any sizzle or anything to it. Now, on the flip side, the other girls match, and there was only two ladies matches on the entire card, on the main card, anyways, right? So you had the Mariah May versus Tony Storm, and I come back to this because I think this is one of the best told stories I've, in the women's division that I've seen in a while. Like these guys, you're invested in it, in the history, you're invested in the stuff that they were doing leading up to it.
Mm-hmm.
And the match was good. Like it was really, really good. I had no problem with it. I think, the crowd interaction, the slapping of the mom. I mean, shit. It was just insane. I loved it. And the facial expressions and just the way they did it.
That match is night and day, head and shoulders above the Monet match. I mean,
Well,
the problem with Mercedes Monet is also Tony Khan doesn't know how to book very well either a lot of the times, right? So he way overpaid for her. She's just not delivering, and maybe in his mind he thinks he's happy with her, but I don't know how he
well,
could be.
I tell you what, brother man, we will talk about this as we'll get further into it. But
Mm-hmm.
overall, man, I tell you what, man, I think there's enough people out there. Everyone knows what happened at All In, so I don't think we really need to take any more time
Best
on
match
this.
of the night, you'd have to say Daniel Bryan just because of the story, the
Yeah,
feel.
yeah,
Best technical match, most exciting would be MJF at Osprey.
yeah.
But as far as story investment and storytelling, I say Bryan and Swerve best match of the night just
Yeah,
because of
no,
that.
100%, hands down, hands down. And it's been said now that his first title defense will be in a couple of weeks here, if not this week, in New York. at their New York shows that they do usually right after the U.S. Open. He's going to be defending against Darby Allin.
See that I don't understand that. You just beat Swerve, and all of a sudden you have a match against Darby. What did Darby do to get that? He went like a match or
Darby
something.
won a match earlier in the year. I don't know, a month ago or 2 months ago, that gave him a title shot.
Okay, there you
Yeah,
go. See,
so
that's the thing. A month or two ago, it's so like nobody can keep up with all this stuff. But
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
glad Daniel won it. You can have it for a few months and then get it off him.
yeah, 100%. Now we didn't talk about the coffin match. What did you think of it?
Oh, with Perry,
Yeah,
I thought it was actually really good. I always knocked that guy, and you know what I mean. And honestly, they told a good story in that match. I thought it was really well. Actually, it was one of the more standout matches. I actually quite enjoyed that. Usually, I don't care for Jack Perry's work, but this time, thought he worked his butt off. What about you?
yeah, no, I had no problem with it. I mean, I had no apprehension or anything thinking about it going into it. I just didn't know how they were going to pull it off. But I mean, if you think about it, if this is the future of their company, this was a great match. And if I'm in the back and I'm looking at these two guys, I'm like, okay, we just got to keep working in the right direction, but we're moving in the right direction. Because if you look at Jack Perry when he came in the beginning to what he's doing now, I mean, the character's grown, he's evolved, his skill set, his timing, everything. Darby Allin's a recluse, in my opinion.
Yeah,
He's a modern day Mick Foley. He just has no regard for his own health, his own.
the thing is, he's about half the size of Mick Foley too. So that impact even hits him harder. He's so
Well,
small.
that's it, right? So I hope he can find a different style, but I like Jack Perry, and I think that there's something really, really good here with the guy that
I was impressed because I'm not a
starting
huge
to
Darby Allin
emerge.
fan or Jack Perry fan. I always rip on those guys, but this time I can't say anything to discredit them. They worked their butt off. It was a very good match. Well done. Good moves. Good storytelling. So yeah,
Yeah, I
props
have
to those
no
guys.
issues with that
This
at
is
all.
definitely this is their WrestleMania, I guess. All in. This is definitely one of their stronger pay-per-views they've done in a while.
Yeah, no, it was good. But like I said, I think again, and I said this to you when we were, talking about it weeks leading up, especially around the Osprey and the MJF match. How can they top it? And like you said, it was very close. I think they were about the same match
Yeah,
entirely, in my opinion. But the difference here that made it seem a little bit more was that crowd. That
yeah.
UK crowd, right? Having and MJF took a lot of heat with his whole America thing that he did in the beginning. Like he actually took some heat online for that. But I mean, I think that crowd made a lot of that show better than it could have really been.
They were into it. They were
They
into it
were
for
into
sure.
it, so they really enjoyed that show, and it made it enjoyable to watch on TV.
Yeah.
It covered up a lot of the flaws, it covered up a lot of the bloopers, there were in there. I don't want to get into
Oh
it,
yeah,
but
absolutely.
I want to stay positive with this as much as we possibly can without discrediting people. But I can understand it's a big stage, it's a lot of people, these things happen. This is where you learn, this is where you bite the bits to kind of become better for this, right?
The only thing is, we'll see, and I don't think he'll move it at all. We'll see how much Daniel Bryan moves the needle on Dynamite, right? They get 700,000. Maybe you can get a 40,000 more people to tune in because he's the champ. We'll see. But
Well,
I
I
mean, he's
mean,
never been a big needle mover, so we'll find out. He's got the
let's see,
strap.
that the yes movement, all that, all of the things that he kind of brings to the table. So I mean, he is the working man kind of guy. That's the way he's kind of sold. So let's see what they do, man. I mean,
Yeah.
let's see how they build off of this. We got Dynamite this Wednesday, so we'll find out more of what's going on, what direction everything is going. And I hope they start to build more continuity with their storylines, because I think they did a pretty good job with this. I was interested. I was looking forward to the
I've been thinking about this. I don't think Tony Khan wants to build continuity with his storylines. I just think he thinks the matches, just have good matches, just have hard hitting MJF Osprey matches, throw matches together, and hopefully those are amazing matches, 5-star matches, as he would say, and throw a little bit of story. I don't even think he's even trying to do much story. That's
and I
how I
think
see it.
yeah, no, and I
Because he
don't
can't be
disagree.
that dumb. He's a pretty smart
Well,
guy.
no, he's a smart guy, but he also has to be smart enough to understand. And this is where I kind of think that he needs to do a better job of this, because I mean, at the end of the day, wrestling is about stories. For
Yeah,
most of us
characters.
that tune into wrestling, it's not for random matches. So if I want to see random matches, with all due respect to the independent scene, I'm going to go there,
Mm-hmm.
because there's outside. I don't think there's many indie promotions that have continuity in their storylines. I mean, there's a
No,
little bit
not
from
really.
here to there, But unfortunately, if you want continuity in the independents, you got to go to every show to see if something's happening, right?
Well, some of the problem with the independent local scenes, they can't have continuity because some of these guys, I can't make it to the book you. I can't make it. I got to go to work, and so these guys don't show up, so it could throw the story off when you come to see the next event. So it's
Right,
tough.
right.
But not in the pros, not with these
No,
guys. There's no
no, and,
excuse.
and that's why I turn into WWE every week because I want to know what's going on with the stories, right? It's not so
Mm.
much the in-ring action. I already know what I'm expecting from that. What I watch now is more the storytelling, the facial expressions. That's what I'm looking for, the psychology. I'm more of a fan of wrestling psychology than the actual wrestling itself. Because the
Yeah,
wrestling itself should already be there, right? If you
totally
can't
agree.
wrestle,
Yeah,
right? So I'm not looking for something that I already know should be there. I'm looking for these other elements, right? But all right, brother, why don't we talk about Bash in Berlin here?
yeah, let's
So
do it.
they're out there in Europe. They've been doing a lot of tours out there right now. Gunther's out there. He wasn't on Raw. So he's really like he's huge over there, right? I'm
Oh
predicting
yeah,
Gunther Randy Orton should be the main event. Like that should be the match that closes it off. Let's talk about it, man. Why don't we talk about it right off the bat here? WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes, Kevin Owens, man. This is an interesting one, very similar to Daniel O'Brien, but that was behind the scenes and that was real life where he said he didn't want,
mm.
the belt or anything. But they're playing this story here where Kevin is saying that I don't deserve the title shot because I've been losing this and that. So
Mm.
I have an interesting concept here. I think first off, I think Cody will win, obviously.
Oh yeah, hands down.
But I believe the thing I think that's going to be interesting that no one's going to expect is one of these guys will turn.
Yeah. The thing with Cody is like they have no opponents for him. He's got no story going. He's the marquee champion that's finished the story stuff, and all of a sudden he's like this. This is kind of like fizzled out. They got nothing for him. You're giving him Kevin Owens, who shouldn't be in any main event ever, and he's saying, "I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy."
But that's the
That's just,
story.
I
But
know,
that's
I
the
get it's
story.
just like, but it's just a bad story. And then you got Cody Rhodes trying to convince Nick Aldis to have a shot. Like, it's such bad acting. I've seen better acting in grade 10 at my drama class. Like that, that's a cheesy story. And it is a story, but it's just bad. Like, it's like Kevin to be like, I won, I'm going to beat you, I'm better than you. And it's just like, he's like, please, I don't want to wrestle you. Then it's just that they got nothing for Cody right now. I don't know what they're going to do with him, but
Well,
they
I
got nothing
think
for him. Give him
I think
something.
what they're trying to do here is because very similar to last year, like after he lost at WrestleMania 40, or was it 39, sorry, in Los Angeles, right?
Mm-hmm.
The whole build up for that year was to come back to that match somehow. I think at the end of Raw after WrestleMania, The Rock said, I'll be back. I'll see you soon, sort of a deal. So I almost feel that this is the same thing again, where they're trying to keep him busy until maybe after Survivor Series, until The Rock does
Keep him busy.
come
I'm
back.
all for that. But when you got
Yeah,
Kevin
but
Owens saying, I'm not worthy, I'm not
but
worthy, it just makes it
I
so
get it, but
corny.
that's the story though. You gotta understand that I know what
No,
the story
I
is,
get it's a story. It's just a bad
but I
story. That's like
think
a
I think
grade
what
five kid could write that.
no, I get it, but I think what we're gonna get here is someone's gonna turn on someone. And
Probably.
but it'd be interesting. This is where it's gonna be fun. Everyone's expecting Kevin to do it, right? What if
Mm-hmm.
it is Cody?
No, I don't. It's not going to be Cody because they're not going to have two heel champions. Gunther is a heel. They're not going to have Cody as a heel.
Yeah, let's
Not
see
yet.
what they do. But anyways, I so we're both Cody.
Yes, Cody, but I'm not looking for that match at all. I think that's some. This is some of the worst storytelling I've ever seen in this particular story. To make him say, "I'm not worthy. I'm not worthy," and Cody's crying like a little baby. Nick, please, tell, like it's just so bad.
Well, let's see how it plays out,
But
man.
yeah,
We'll find out
Cody
this
wins though.
Saturday. All right. Women's Tag Team Championship, Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair versus the Unholy Union. Um, I don't know, man. I thought seriously, I really thought this Unholy Union would have lost the titles by now. I didn't expect them to hold on to it this long. They've done a good job with them. They've been, defending them well. I have no problem with them being champion.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel that they're going to win here again. And again, I don't know why I keep thinking things are going to, people are going to turn on each other, but this would be a great opportunity for this team, Bianca and Jade, to kind of put some cracks in that foundation that they have and start building up towards something towards these two kind of going. Because honestly, where Bianca was, I'm not saying she's taking a big fall, but she's kind of, being pushed back a little bit here,
Oh,
right?
she's taking that's a big fall, dude. You're all of a sudden top girl main eventing.
Yeah,
Now you're throwing in random tag matches. To me, they should never took the belts off of Carter and Bianca. They were a great team,
yeah,
good chemistry. They didn't have them very long. Maybe something happened backstage, rubbed people the wrong way. That happens a lot in wrestling that we don't
sure.
know about. But I think the Unholy Unions they'll retain.
Yeah, I think so as
But if
well.
I'm booking it, I give it right back to Cardigan and Bianca, and I start building them up again. They
Yeah.
split up, get Bianca back up in the main event level because she's so talented not to be.
Well, I really think if everything in my mind plays out the way, I think Bianca Jade should be at WrestleMania or something. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, they'll split
this
up.
is this is where you start to build it now, right? So yeah, you're right. Maybe you are right. Let them win, then they drop it, and then that tension starts to
I
build.
think they were the best. They were only had it for a short time, but I think they were the best women's tag team that I've seen in the last handful of years. They just didn't get much time to run with the ball. So we'll see what happens.
Okay, so you're going with who?
I'll go with the Unholy Union, but if I'm booking it, I give it
Yeah.
to Cardigan, but I ain't booking it. So Unholy Union retains.
All right, same here. I'm the same way as well.
Yeah.
All right, another strap match: CM Punk, Drew McIntyre. Your two favorite guys, or at least one of them.
I love
Tongue in
Drew.
cheek. Right? What do you think, man? This story just keeps going and going. I'm gonna give you my prediction right off the bat. I think this one goes to Drew because I don't think this is gonna end with this one either. This is just gonna.
Well, yeah,
I
they're gonna
think,
have a trilogy, right? Punk.
yeah.
No, Drew got one. Drew got the last one.
Drew
Yeah.
won the last one, so
Punk's winning this one.
Punk wins this one, and then you got your crescendo match at
Yeah.
the end, right? So I
The
think Punk
thing
wins.
is, I like a strap match. It's always fun to watch, and Drew is one of my favorites. The thing I don't like about this is two grown men fighting over a bracelet. That's something that my 4-year-old daughter would do on the playground. I think that's such cheesy, corny. I get it's about the dog and Larry, whatever the name is, but come on, you guys can't think of a better story than two supposedly, especially a big tough man like Drew, is they're fighting over a bracelet. To me, that bracelet seems more important than the heavyweight belt on Raw. Like it's just bad writing. The match itself will be good because both these guys can go. I don't know if Punk's gonna take a beating in here, but Punk will win it. We'll even it up 1-1. But I don't like the story.
Okay. Yeah, I think Drew takes the loss here as well, and we will talk more about the bracelet as we get later
Yeah,
into the show. So I'm not going to say nothing about it right
but it
now.
will be a good match though.
I think it will be a good match. You guys
Yeah.
do work well together, and
Oh yeah.
Drew works very, very well. And you know what? Regardless of what anyone says, these two guys have chemistry. I mean, just their interactions, the way
Oh
they
yeah.
talk to each other, I have no problem with it.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe the subject matter, as you referred to, could be a little bit better, but we'll talk about it
But
as we get.
it's gonna be yeah. This could steal the show. That could got the potential for that.
Yeah, no, potentially. All right, mixed tag team match: Damian Priest, Rhea Ripley, the Terror Twins, now they're called, against Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. I think this is just going to be one of those matches that's just going to be there for the moment. I don't have high expectations from it. The Terror Twins take it. Rhea and Damian win this match somehow. I think, but then again, never say never. There's those sneaky little, rats will come and do something. But I think Damian and Rhea win this match.
I think that they're going to give it a Liv and Dom to keep building the story, keep having Rhea and Damien chase them.
I get
It's too
that.
bad about the Judgment Day because the two best people in Judgment Day are Damien and Rhea. Now they're out of Judgment Day. So they either need to give them a big star in Judgment Day or get rid of that stuff. And I still think Damien should be champion. I still think they took it off him too early. They didn't give him enough time to run with the ball, but I got Liv and Dom taking this one just to keep the story going.
I think Damien
They'll
did an
cheat the
amazing.
win.
Look, I'll be honest. Yeah, okay. So I'm gonna go the other way. I'm just gonna think the Terror Winds are gonna win. I don't think this ends anything, but just to
They
give a
could.
little bit something to them, because I mean, if you think about it, they've been cheated. Well, I mean, not so much Damien, but Rhea, like losing the title the way she did, coming back and having to go through all that, losing the opportunity to win it back,
Losing her man.
and and her man sort of a deal, if whatever the case may be. But I think it's just one of those kind of things, just like will appease fans to say, okay, they got something. Now they could win the match, but then just get destroyed after the match is what I'm
And I
probably
also
thinking.
think Drew's got a little bit of sour taste in his mouth for losing the belt that early, so he's going to be working hard. Or Drew,
Yeah.
Damian Priest can be working hard coming out because he wants to get back up to main
Well,
event level.
a lot of times when they give the belt to a guy for the very first time, it's almost a test to see, hey, how are you going to draw? How do you look? How do you handle the pressure? I think he checked all the marks, man. I have no problem with him as champion. He's gotten better.
I would rather I
Yeah.
love Orton, but I'd rather be seeing Damian versus Gunther in this main event just because Damian didn't have enough time to see what he could do.
Yeah,
But
well, one day he'll get it back. I'm pretty
oh yeah,
sure,
yeah,
right?
he will.
All right. Speaking of that, Randy Orton versus Gunther. Thoughts?
Gunther is down, it's a no-brainer, but will be a great match. Both guys can work, both guys can go. This is the match I'm looking forward to the most. Yeah, it's going to be great. If there's going to be a shock, if there's going to be a surprise, which is unlikely it would be Orton getting the belt off of Gunther. If they're going to try to shock us and swerve us, that would be how you would do it. But I don't think that's happening. I got Gunther, but this is going to be a great match. Hard hitting, big, strong guys, athletic guys. Like this is what you want in a match, for
Yeah,
me
yeah.
at least.
No, I don't have any problem with it. I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be hard hitting, and Randy still can go, right? I mean, he can move.
Randy's one of the best, best in ring guys, of
Yeah.
all time. His timing is so smooth. He can work with anybody. Like I think who said that? I think it was JBL. I think he said if you could build a wrestler in a lab, he'd turn out like Randy Orton.
And Randy Orton would be the prototypical what you want.
He's tall, he's built, he's
tall,
good on
he's
the mic, he
built,
can wrestle.
he can move. I mean, at his
Yeah.
age and everything, with the amount of injuries, I'm not. When we say at his age, he's still a young guy, right?
Is he 42, 43, something like that? Yeah.
It's still young. But in terms of wrestling,
he's still young. Yeah.
In terms of wrestling, his body's a little. His body's probably 50.
But his build is better than 90% of the guys that are 25, right? So he takes it seriously.
And that's it, right? So I think it's going to be a really fun match. I'm looking forward to the card. And again, we're going to a place where they don't get these type of cards. Yeah, Europe. And here's the thing:
crowd's going to be hot.
Europe gets a lot. Europe gets a lot of house shows. We don't know about them all because we don't see them advertised over here because that advertising is only done over there. But they're especially in the last couple of years, they have been in Europe a lot more than they have in the past, where you could look at the calendar and know what month it was based on where they were going. In the past, it was so predictable. WrestleMania, you do your first pay-per-view, and then that May they're in London and Europe doing their tour. You know what I mean? So it's
it sucks for North America for us, but you know what? I'm glad they're doing it just because I expect grows the brand. So
I think it grows the brand. Plus, it also allows people here in North America to appreciate when we get shows here now, because it's not as simple as all shows are going to be in North America. All pay-per-views, major pay-per-views are going to be in North America. Word has it they're looking at London 2025 or 2026 or 2027 WrestleMania to be in London. Right. And
I have no problem with that. They're international, right? You got to go around the world.
Right. And I think the greatest fear that people had for the longest time was, the time difference. How are we going to sell? But I mean, at the end of the day, if you think about it, you're moving to Netflix, you have the network. There's really no numbers that you're
you can PVR against. Stuff or rewind it back.
Right?
No big deal.
But
right?
You're not competing for numbers. I mean, there are no PvP numbers for the WWE. There haven't been ever since they started the network, right? It's all about subscriptions and how many people are buying. The network is what they're selling now. And I'm hoping this doesn't happen, but I'm sure it's going to happen eventually, because this is the best thing that they offer. Not even UFC offers this, right? I mean, if you subscribe to ESPN Plus or DAZN, you're still having to pay for the bigger cards.
You still got to pay for the pay-per-view, yeah.
Right. Whereas WWE has kept everything on the network. They could very easily, and they're in the right to do so if they want to, is to take WrestleMania and make it a pay-per-view.
That was smart how Vince did that. If you get the subscription, you get WrestleMania, Royal Rumble. Dana White guys is like, you can get the UFC. They have their own network online. You can watch the old pay-per-views. You can't watch that pay-per-view that day unless you buy it. You got to wait like 2 weeks for it. So McMahon was, again, ahead of his time doing that. Makes you want to buy it.
Well, I mean,
$13 a month, you get pay-per-views. You can't beat it.
Look, I'm going to just comment on this way, man. You think about everything that Vince has done. Okay.
Brilliant.
And he has brilliant, but he was ahead of it. He was the first one to take that gamble. He took a gamble on WrestleMania.
Streaming. He did it all first. Saudi Arabia. He was doing Saudi Arabia stuff way before UFC and boxing.
Pay-per-view is being there, but he was single-handedly, in my opinion, the reason that made pay-per-view available to UFC, to boxing, to everyone else the way it is.
Yep.
He was the one who started this whole streaming thing, in essence.
And going to Saudi Arabia before UFC or boxing ever did.
Well, yeah, absolutely. But I'm just talking about the availability of the product. What network now doesn't have its own streaming service?
Exactly.
HBO Max, Paramount Network, you name it. NBC, all of them said, oh shit, there's something here. Right? So he I don't know if he realized that this would be the direction ultimately, or we would grow into this, because there's no platform.
Well, before he left, he was in on that Netflix deal, so he knew what to do, right?
Yeah,
that's the last deal that he made.
And there is no major network out there right now who hasn't followed that example.
Yep.
All right, brother man, I'm excited for this. So this is something we're going to start here this week, and we're going to make it grow and evolve into something. So what we see here today will not look the same in a couple months, I guarantee it. But Samp&Chance, we want to bring to you now a new segment that we're going to call Headlines That Should Be in Wrestling News. So
Yeah.
what we do is we just kind of take a look at, what's going on in the world of professional wrestling and see what's being written out there. So it's a little bit work on our side to see
Mm-hmm.
what's being written and what we actually need to be hearing about and what needs to be discussed. So we're going to, go through a few topics here that we kind of came up together and talk about them and say, why aren't these the headlines? Now, let's start with number one. Two grown men fighting over a bracelet. Why is this happening in professional wrestling? Chance, I'll let you start.
Great question, and I have no idea. I just think it's so corny and cheesy. I like these two guys as workers, but they could have came up with something else. And now they're trying to say the bracelet's important because it's to see him, the dog, and but his wife or whatever. But these are grown men, especially Drew's this big bad boy. They're trying to make him into be, and they're fighting over a bracelet. To me, this bracelet seems more important than Gunther's belt because they seem to be featuring that more, talking about it, which I don't know. They could have anything else, but to have two grown men fighting over a bracelet, to me, it just seems very, very, feminized almost to a point. Like they're trying to make them sensitive, bad guys, and Punk has always been sensitive. So I don't know what they're doing with it. I just think it's
Well, okay,
very,
so
very
you're
lazy writing.
I think the one thing we should clear here is like, okay, everybody knows, right? I mean, you represent more of the casual fan,
Yeah,
correct? Even though you watch the product, you kind of perceive it and look at it more like a casual fan opposed to me.
absolutely.
I'm not a homer, but I love wrestling and I've
Mm-hmm.
evolved with the product and I've watched it and I appreciate it for what it is and what we're getting here, right? I mean,
Yep.
again, like I said to you, I don't watch wrestling for the in-ring work anymore per se. Like, yes, I watch it for the in-ring work, but I'm not focused on that per se because I know what we're watching. I get it. I understand that completely. For me, it's more the storytelling, it's more of how they get you to want to be involved in
Mm-hmm.
everything. So this is more of a storytelling piece. Yeah, does it sound a little cheesy? Sure. But the reality of it is, it's just to build the story and that energy of these guys. Like you're disrespecting my family. Now I get it, it's a bracelet, but the
Mm-hmm.
story is there. This is very important to him. It means a lot to him. It's energy, right? Like
And let's not point out this is not a Ric Flair $20,000 gold bracelet. This is like a
no, I
little
get
kid's
it.
bracelet you make on the playground.
No, I get it, but that's the
Right.
beauty. But that's the beauty, and I think that's what they're trying to convey. It's nothing that can't be replaced. It's nothing that is going to break him or cost him millions of dollars. It's that internal, pride feeling that he has that this is taken away from me. This is what keeps me going. It's kind of like I have a bracelet on my hand that little Miss gave me, and whenever I see it,
Thank you for saying that. I just finished saying my 4-year-old daughter makes those bracelets. You got a 9 or 10-year-old,
right,
same idea.
but
So when you have two big men fighting over what would be perceived as a little girl's bracelet, to me, that signals how can you expect grown men over 18 to be invested in this kind of story when it's more. I don't get it, wrestling's for kids, but it just seems so feminized to me
I get it,
that they're doing that, and I find that so
no,
corny
no,
and
fair
cheesy.
enough. So let me finish my point though. What I'm saying is when I see that bracelet, and it's not cheesy, right? It's actually a nice bracelet.
But when two grown men are
Right,
fighting over it and it's supposed to be alpha dogs, that's cheesy.
right. But I get that though. I understand why that story is kind of being built that way. Just this is the point I'm trying to make. So little Miss gave me a bracelet, right? Now it's I wear it, and whenever I see it, it motivates me.
Mm-hmm.
Subconsciously, I don't even think about it. I see it, I feel a rush of energy. You know what I mean? And I think that's the way they're trying to build that story for other people who have those kind of mementos on them and whatnot. Like you're not wrong and I'm not wrong, but I'm just trying to show you the other side of
No,
that.
I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying if they expect casual men to be invested in two grown men fighting over a kid's bracelet, doesn't matter how much it means. It can mean everything to CM Punk. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean anything to us because that is for little girls
All right,
to
brother.
wear that.
Why
That's how I
why
see
don't
it.
we do one more here because we're getting
Yeah,
close to time here, and then we'll as we progress we'll make this
yeah.
a bigger piece and we'll go going. But what I want to talk about here, and I'm going to start this off right off the bat, Mercedes Monet, Sasha Banks. Okay, now you and I both know I'm a bigger proprietor of the female side of the sport and whatnot than you are. So for me to bring this one up is saying something. Okay. So
Mm-hmm.
my headline is why aren't people noticing what Mercedes Monet, aka Sasha Banks, is truly in the ring, is truly on the mic, because no one ever saw it in WWE.
Well, if
So,
any's seen it, he let her go.
well, but no, but this is the thing though. The reality of it is, this is an example of WWE, and they won't talk about it, they don't say it, but you see it when their talent leaves and goes to other places. They shine and promote your strongest suits and abilities to make you look that good, right? And this is the case with Sasha Banks. She was good as she was in WWE because they knew how to manage her and knew what light to put her in, and what angle to shoot her from, and what to say and how to say it, and how to capture those facial expressions with the cameras. Now, since she's gone to AEW, I feel that listening to her talk makes me cringe. The way she delivers her dialogue, the way she delivers her promos, I'm thinking, what did you learn from Dusty Rhodes? Because it's not coming through, right? Because she's one of Dusty's kids, in essence. She was under his learning tree. In AEW, again, her matches have been lackluster, her promos have been lackluster, but they just keep putting her on this pedestal, and I don't understand why nobody's talking about it.
Well, I said it before on our shows from a year or two. I never thought she was any good. Even in WWE, I thought she was average at best. She was only reason she wasn't bad on the mic is because they were writing her promos for her. Now you go to AEW and Tony Khan lets you pretty much freelance, and you can see even in WWE guys now, you can see when they're letting Triple H, they let these guys freelance. The promos are horrible, and basically all the companies. She's getting exposed a little bit more because promos aren't scripted. They're giving her a little more time to do what she wants, and he's paying her so much money. He wants to put her out there and get some value for what he's paid her. He totally overpaid her. If Tony Khan had any sense in his head, he would have watched what she did in WWE and be like, "She's not worth half of that." Like,
Well, I mean, but there you
I don't
go.
even think she. I don't want to say she's. I don't even think she belongs in WWE or AEW. I think she's like TNA style. I mean, she's just
No,
not that good and never
no, no,
has been.
fair
And
enough.
Tony kind
And
of
the
got caught up in
problem,
the hype, and he
and
was
the
so, I
problem,
gotta get a guy from WWE. Let's take her. Let's take him. And he kind of got carried away, and it's
yeah,
totally backfired on him.
and
He's
the
way out of
problem
his
I
league here.
the problem I have with her ultimately, I think, I'm picking on her only for the fact that there's so many people out there who love the opportunities that she's had. And I say this because she doesn't get her way, she runs home, sort of a deal. You know what I mean? We've seen
Yeah,
this.
he already did.
She's done this a few times in WWE, but each time I don't know why they brought her
My
back.
biggest problem with Sasha Banks is when she doesn't get her way, she cries racism.
Yeah,
Okay, she cried that in WWE, but
yeah,
Tony Khan, being the woke guy that he is, tries to be the lovey-dovey hippie kind
yeah,
of guy,
yeah.
and it's backfired on him. Instead
No,
of saying, "Wait a
100%.
minute, there's no racism here. It's just she's not that good and has a bad attitude."
Yeah,
But
yeah.
he's not able to understand that, and it cost him what, $5 million he gave her.
100%. All right, brother man. I tell you what, normally I love to end on a happy, positive, and I think we will, but before we have to go there, we should, talk about the passing of one Sid Vicious, aka Justice, Psycho Sid, whoever he was the time you saw him. A big loss, an
Mm-hmm.
unexpected loss.
I always liked him.
Diagnosed with lymphoma, Hodgkin's cancer in 2021. Didn't say anything to anybody. Fought it quietly. You would have not known,
That's a
right?
tough guy that he is.
Right. And he peacefully passed away yesterday. Um, Bigger than life character, amazing.
A bigger than
I'm
life
still
guy. He was a monster.
Well, the guy was a monster, but I mean, he was just there. Sid was Sid, and Sid was one of those guys that was more of our childhood, in essence, right? We didn't really see him much in our late teens, early 20s, sort of a deal. He was more when we were kids, and in that genre. Hulk Hogan, him, WrestleMania 8, former WWE World Champion as well. So I mean, he's had the title, this and that, but I
Mm-hmm.
almost feel he's one of those underrated guys that never got his just due at that time. Your thoughts?
I love the guy. Like I said, as kids, me and my buddy, one of my buddies, I won't mention his name, lived across the street from me. We were watching wrestling. He goes, "Man, I'm scared of that guy. He's so big. He's so strong." You don't feel that with wrestlers anymore. I love Sid. He's one of my favorite big men. It's too bad he never got into the Hall of Fame. They let guys with half the talent that he had in there. Why didn't he never get in there? Now you put him in now. Now it's a pity one.
Well,
I
I
get it.
mean,
He
at the
could be a
time,
jerk. He rubbed people the wrong way.
yeah,
But at the end of the day, with some of the guys you put in there,
yeah.
why isn't Sid in there?
I think, and to answer your question, only because I read a little something about this today, I'm just paraphrasing. Vince didn't like him, he said.
No, I know. That's what I mean. You rub
Right,
people the
that's what
wrong
I'm
way.
saying. Because Vince wants everyone to do it the way he wants to, but Sid was more like, no, I'm going to do it this way or this and that. And if you don't play Vince's ball, he's going to
Yeah,
let
you're
you
out.
go, right? And
But
he
Vince is
won.
letting guys he's hated more than that.
But all those guys did whatever Vince said.
No, Ultimate Warrior never did. He put him in.
Well, I mean, eventually, yeah,
This
I
guy
get what
Hogan
you're
never
saying.
did. There's guys he put in. I get it. He's trying to say Sid isn't quite Hall of Fame worthy,
Yeah.
and maybe he's not. But the people
Well,
that
no,
you
he
have let
is.
in,
Yeah.
he
That's what I'm
is.
saying. If you're going to let in Coco Beware, who never won a world title,
Mm-hmm.
right? Yeah, he was a big proponent of the rock and wrestling and the music side of it and everything. And I can see him getting in because of those things. I'm talking about Coco. But
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Sid is accomplished. He's done everything. He was the Four Horsemen,
He was good in Four Horsemen.
right? He was a Four Horseman. He was a horseman before all the other guys were, the other add-ons were there.
We
You know
know
what I mean?
wrestling is scripted, but if you compare baseball, hockey, football, basketball, Hall of Fame, WWE is the most watered down. Half the guys in there shouldn't even be in the Hall of Fame. They're putting anybody in there now, and it's just like Hall of Fame is for the immortals,
Yeah.
not for guys like Coco Beware and those kind of
Yeah.
guys. And I like Coco; he's fun, but rest in peace
Get
to
it.
Sid, one of my favorite big men, big
I think
tough,
of
and he
it.
had a great career. And
Awesome.
he's
All right,
such a
brother.
tough guy. He could have came on and said he had cancer. He would have got a pity party. They would have threw him in the Hall of Fame. He didn't do that. That's
No,
not the
and
kind of
that's
guy he is.
respect. And that's
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't want to model my life like that, but I want to model my life like that.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
yeah.
I mean,
Oh,
and that kind of comes into what I'm saying here to everyone else now. It's just like, doesn't matter what you're going through, you have to go through it. It's regardless, right?
mm-hmm.
I think people need to understand that whatever you're going through that's difficult, you're
Yeah,
not alone because other people are going through the same thing. I know it's not reassuring. I know it doesn't make you feel better, but you know what? That's just the way life is, man. Every day is like that. No, not every day is going to be perfect, right?
exactly, dude.
All right, brother man, let's wrap this puppy up. It's time to get out of here and get on with the day. My name is Bobby Sampson. He's Mr. Chance Michaels.
And in the words of the great ACDC, those that download, like, and subscribe to the podcast, we salute you.
We do salute you. And everybody remember, do the things that matter to you in life. Do not do things that justify your life and to make other people happy. Yes, we want to make other people happy, but if you're not happy, what's the point of anything in this world?
Yeah.
Samp and Chance are out.